Are live here, 96.5 CTG, into the 9 o'clock hour, and we have on the line with us the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Lou Gramm. How are you tonight, sir?
Doing real well, thanks.
Sounds good.
It sounds really good. You're coming through nice and clear there, buddy.
Good.
Are you ready to go to work for us and do a little celebrity bumper? Have some fun?
You betcha I am. Yep,
Sweet.
absolutely.
Give me something good.
I actually didn't get the celebrity bumper.
All right, well, we can feed it to you piece by piece because we often do this, and our listeners actually like the little behind the scenes. So just start off with, hi, this is Lou Gramm, and you're listening to...
Okay. Hi, this is Lou Gramm. You're listening to WCTG 96.5 FM.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much. Can we get one more with the name of the show in it?
Okay.
It's the original 70s soundtrack. You just sort of do the same sort of thing. Sure.
Yep, you bet. Hi, this is Lou Gramm. You're listening to the original 70s soundtrack right here on WCTG 96.5 FM.
Awesome, dude. We love you.
Perfect.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know we've crossed paths a couple of times and weren't able to get this interview together, but man, oh man, our listeners are excited tonight. And the reason is I'll just go ahead and say it. I mean, we've had a lot of people on over the years, but I don't know if I've ever been more excited as just as a fan than to have you on here. Your voice is amazing.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And a couple of things as we were doing as we were researching the interview, one of the cool things that I really like is a lot of people don't know, before you were even in Foreigner, you had a band called Black Sheep, and you guys were on Chrysalis Records. Is that correct?
We were the first American band signed to Chrysalis Records.
And I think, of course, we're Kiss fans here. It's a 70s show. You actually opened a few dates with Kiss on the some of the early tours as well. Is that correct?
Yes, we did. We played Boston.
Hello? Oh.
He'll call right back.
Yeah, he's going to call right back.
Robin's with him.
Yeah. The phone died. Oh. Meanwhile, we'll say
Pull
some salutes to the Bell Bottom Radio. There he goes again. Pull him up there, Dano. Book him. Hey, Lou, did we lose you?
There he is.
Lou.
Wow, what happened?
I don't know.
Unbelievable.
Tell us the name of your cell phone company. More bars.
Sanford and Son.
There you go. Less bars and more places. Well, anyway, you were just about to tell us, of course, like say, you opened some dates for Kiss early on, but you also opened dates for Spooky Tooth, which led to sort of a fortuitous meeting with Mick Jones. Is that correct?
Well, as a matter of fact, we went to hear Spooky Tooth. We didn't open for them.
Oh, okay.
Our manager, the manager of Black Sheep, was an A&M Records rep, and Spooky Tooth was on A&M, so he got us in. He got us in to not only hear the concert but meet the guys in the band.
And how did that lead to them? I mean, I know later on down the road when Mick was forming Foreigner, he had. I know what it was. I don't want to steal your story, but you sort of laid your album on him. Is that true?
Yeah, we thanked them for having us as guests and handed out 3 or 4 albums to the guys.
And I love the original, the concept of Foreigner. We even got it back then. I was, it was, 6 or 7 of you guys, and about half British and half American.
Yeah, there were 6 of us, 3 English, 3 American.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm a huge fan of Dennis Elliott's drum playing too. But when you guys broke. And Sue's here with me. She's my co-host, and she loves you. And Foreigner's Double Vision.
I'm sitting here with my Double Vision album.
She has it. It was like
it was my first rock album, and
wow.
I was gonna see if I could mail it to you and have you sign it, but I don't know.
Of course.
Oh, cool.
And Double Vision was within the first 10 or 15 albums I bought as well. One of the things we were looking at there, and of course, as we love the early Foreigner stuff. The dynamic that formed in the band between you and Mick early on, songwriting partners, and sometimes you're writing, I think you were writing early on with Ian as well, Ian McDonald. How did that work as far as who got to pick what songs made the albums?
I think it was, at that point, it was somewhat of a democracy, and we always had 2 or 3 more songs than we needed on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of tried to finish them all, and as we mixed them, we we put a running order together, side A and side B. And that's one great thing that albums have. And we just saw what songs fit, what songs had the most impact, and we were always looking to see what the first, second, and possibly third single could be.
Yeah, and I, as a fan, even as I was a teenager at the time, and even then, I got to ask you, as the lead singer of Foreigner, obviously, there were always a track or two where Mick would write something and he would want to sing it, and I always sort of dug bands that did that, and it wasn't necessarily, well, it's like when you have a singer like Lou Gramm in your band, it's like, why would you even want to sing yourself? Yeah, no. But I mean, Brian May did it in Queen, obviously, and Roger Taylor too, and I sort of like that. I mean, obviously Freddie Mercury in that band as well, but was that a sort of a strange thing? Did that sort of cause a little friction there, or? No,
not at all. We were trying to accentuate not only the songwriting and the scope of the songwriting, but that there was another voice in the band, and it was a different voice, and that it just gave lightened and darkened shades to the dynamic of the band.
Yeah, and like the modern day and a couple things that sort of come to mind that he did.
Great song.
It sure was.
I don't think I could have sung that song modern day. He was perfect for it.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. And to me, if I were to compare you vocally, to me, your voice is like the world's best saxophone player. It's just brilliant, the bursts and the power that can do. And Mick was a little more reedy. I'd say I'd make him a clarinet if I was casting you in a orchestra based on your voices. I don't know if that's fair.
I understand that, but I wouldn't mention that comparison to him.
Oh, why not? Clarinet's not flattering. Clarinet's an awesome instrument. But speaking of Queen, Roy Thomas Baker comes in at the Head Games album. Was that like taking everything up a notch, and as far as the amount of work that you had to do producing that, or?
Well, we honestly thought so. We were fans of Queen for sure, and he did the Cars too, and they were contemporaries of ours. We toured a lot with them early on, and we certainly had a lot of respect for his production values. However, when we finally did work with him, I think he had just I think he was doing AC/DC.
Wow.
And he was pretty tired, pretty burned, and I mean, while we were working on songs, there was a lot more champagne drinking than anything else, A
little bit of rock and roll there.
Yeah, more than a little.
But
although the album yielded some good songs, I think that by and large, the songs sound unfinished to me, and not our best effort musically.
No, of course, I love the stuff that I sort of sense that you were more. Because I could feel the Americans like I think Rev on the Rev line was on that album. Is that right?
Oh yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and when I hear that, I mean that's such an American thing. I just have to guess that was primarily from underneath your pen more so than Mick.
Oh yeah, when we were working on the songs, on that particular song, I would sing the song the way I heard it with the lyric that I wrote, and he would say, "Boy, that's really terrific. Oh, that sounds great. What's it about?" He really didn't quite understand the gist of the lyric, and I had to explain to him about muscle cars and street racing.
Yeah, and because Foreigner is, I would put them on my list of bands, Foghat, Foreigner, Styx. We had Mark Foreigner from Grand Funk Railroad, another great band, where those bands were just like ubiquitous on the 8-track players of big Camaros and Chevelles.
That's right.
From that time period, that American rock. I mean, even the name notwithstanding, I mean, your voice just all over it. And then on to Four, and gosh, that was Mutt Lange, wasn't it?
That was Mutt Lange.
Wow.
That was quite an experience.
Did it make it easier? I mean, someone like either Roy Thomas Baker or Mutt Lange, do they basically come in and they tell you what's what as far as, hey, look, I'm going to pick what's on the record, and does that make it easier so that the guys aren't fighting, or how does that work out?
Not really. He didn't flex his production muscles or pull any power plays. But he really he really dug deep as far as arrangements and song content. And would come right out in the studio when we were playing and stop us right in the middle of the song and you know, what if we played it like this? He'd go, you know, or how about if we put this part over here, you know, and we'd look at each other and look at him like, what are you, crazy? But we'd try it, and a lot of times it worked.
It would work.
He had a unique song sensibility that obviously had worked well for him in the past, and It certainly had an impact on us too.
Well, when you were writing, then was your perspective mainly coming in after some riffs were there and dropping some lyrics? Did you melody wise? Did you have a lot of input there? I mean, what was?
Oh, I did. I think the lyrics and the melody one was just as important as the other, and you know, sometimes the melody would come first. Sometimes the lyric would come first.
So was that more difficult for you because you were just the lead vocalist and Mick could do guitar and piano and?
Well, he always had interesting chord patterns, and honestly, the way he made his chords on the guitar were he emphasized the open strings, and that I mean, I really loved that about his playing, you know, and. It totally inspired me melodically, and I was always writing down verse or chorus lines even without music. If I'd hear something on in a movie or read a particular striking line in a book, I'd always have my lyric pad and a pen next to me, and I'd write down the phrase.
Yeah, and I tell you, I can tell. And the thing with Foreigner 4, that was sort of the turning point for me. And Sue didn't want me to mention this, but I'm going to throw that out there because you're Lou Gramm. Agent Provocateur, as a fan, I was with you guys solidly. My favorite run of albums is Double Vision, Head Games 4. When Agent Provocateur is stellar as I Want to Know What Love Is, I mean, the vocals on that's a clinic vocally. I mean, that's you just laid down vocals that will probably never be equaled in rock again. But it lost me a little bit as a fan because when Mick because I loved his guitar playing, when it became more keyboardy, I started to lose you guys a little bit.
And I did too, because that's not the kind of band we started out to be. And I know bands transition from album to album, but
oh, I could hear the click. We're gonna wait, and he's gonna call again. It's not us, we swear.
No, it's
but
not.
Anyway, if you're just tuning in, we have Lou Gramm on the line with like the world's worst cell phone, but he's dialing as we speak. He's doing the radio. Wow, 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 wow.
Sorry.
We're doing the Sanford and Son theme for you.
Hang on a second.
Okay. All right, yeah, he's talking to his manager at this point. Give me a cell phone that works. But anyway, he was right in the middle of telling us about Agent Provocateur and the trend to go to keyboards.
Yeah, and you know, there were a lot of British bands like Talk Talk and Soft Cell and bands like that were predominantly keyboard dominated.
Yeah. Plastic Casios, I didn't dig it.
Yeah, and that's right, and then there were, you know, I think the I don't know, the Synclavier was coming into its own, and
the Fairlight,
yeah, the Fairlight, exactly, and I think Mick was just enamored with the sounds and the duplications and what those instruments can do, and he really submerged himself into that and wrote songs that would feature those sounds, and you know, they were good songs. I enjoyed the songs, but I totally felt that we were abandoning the sound and the style that got us where we were to that point.
Sure, and a lot of bands were doing it. To be fair, I mean, Van Halen in 1984 was happening at that point, and Eddie was on keyboards. The same thing with Rush and Geddy Lee. He was adding a lot more keyboard textures to their music. So I mean, it was certainly a trend, but you know, as a guitar player and to be fair, I was in a cover band at the time, and the more expensive keyboard sounds that you guys layered on, the harder you made it for us. Because I didn't have an Oberheim, and we didn't have a Juno 106 and a Fairlight CMI. And so
I was going to say, tell the truth, you couldn't hit his notes anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't hit your notes anyway, even with a step ladder. But but we would try to do that, but it was always fun. But then the breath of fresh air for me came in, and you did your first solo record with Midnight Blue. Oh man, we had a request for that tonight, and we just always like, we can't play it because it's a 70s show, but man, we love that.
We'll put it in at 11.
We will.
We're done.
Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment, and honestly, the idea for that album was totally born out of the fact that out of the frustration that Agent Provocateur was
inside information, too.
Yeah, inside information were the slick, hip albums that they were, and there were good songs on there, but just the whole picture of us as a band radically changed. And I didn't like it.
And speaking of pictures, you know, we're looking at the Double Vision album cover. And just, to me, right again, I'm not picking on Mick because I think Mick's a great guy, but he steps forward in that photo on Double Vision. He's wearing the chinchilla little furry coat or whatever. He looks every bit the English rock star. Mm-hmm. I don't know, though, but, I mean, to me, the first Foreigner album, it's all six of you lined up, you know, along the front. Everybody's pretty equal looking, but already here it's album 2. I mean, was that calculated? Was he sort of cocking his leg on the band at that point?
I believe so.
Yeah, and unfortunately, even to this day, we were talking about like the tours and the gigs that you're doing. I think Sue and I both agree that, you know, when your voice is in great shape, and it is right now, man, oh man, I'd much rather see you fronting a band of people I've never heard of doing those songs than to see Mick out there right now with a bunch of people who have no real historical connection to the band Foreigner out there.
But you can call it that, though, can't you?
Yeah, well, we've gotten into that with a lot of people. Yeah, again, Mark Farner, not to go back to that, the whole Grand Funk Railroad thing where the other guys own the name. Same thing with Graham Goebel, Little River Band. We did him 3 or 4 months ago. And then, of course, we got the other side of the story. Wayne Nelson came on as well. But, yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of that with bands that are out there touring underneath a marquee name that certainly has a box office draw. And then, I don't know, it's a little dishonest feeling to me.
When you go out and do shows, do you do any of your old songs at all, or are you just strictly?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We do Meet Me in Any of the songs from my solo albums.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do Ready or Not. We do Midnight Blue. We do Just Between You and Me.
Wow.
Oh, that's another one I love too.
Okay.
And which takes us. Let's talk about the Lou Gramm band now, because I mean, you guys are. You have some pretty. The touring for August and September is pretty thick. I'm looking on your website. Is about mid-August. In a couple of days, actually, you're going to be going out to Chicago, Illinois.
Wow.
Yep.
Staten Island, New York. September 3rd in Pontiac, Michigan. Our listeners in Michigan, we have a lot of those. That's Saturday of Labor Day weekend. He's going to be in Corona, California on the 8th, on the 10th in Blue Lake, California, and then Pine Ridge, South Dakota on Saturday, September 13th.
You've got quite a schedule there.
How does that work? I know Ben's in the band now. For those that don't know, Ben is he your older or younger brother?
He's my older brother, yep.
He's your older brother, and he's a drummer of note. I mean, he's not like Patrick Swayze's brother. He's not like Joey Travolta. He's not riding Lou's coattails. I read his bio, and man, oh man, he's played on some serious sessions and with some serious people.
Absolutely.
And so now he's in your band. But what are without going into, I mean, we don't want to know what you're paying everybody, but how hard is it to keep a band together to do gigs, weekend stuff? I know I had read somewhere that you're trying to sort of design your touring around your young family, and I can totally relate to that because I saw your twins on stage in a clip on YouTube, and my son's 9, so we're kind of close there as far as, and I love the fact how you seem to be wanting to put that first, to be a family man first and then a rock star second.
Absolutely, and when Foreigner was in the first 2 or 3 albums, I had 2 young boys, and we'd be out for 3.5 months at a time, and then come home for a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then be out again for another 3 weeks. And we were bussing it, and it was tough, really missing my young family. Yeah. And I missed a lot of them growing up, and it was, I have regrets about that, but I understand that that's what was needed,
That was your job, yeah.
Is that what it is? Is that how it is with the members of the bands now? Is that okay, the schedule, the way you have it now?
Yeah, I think it is.
Everybody gets their time?
So when my twins came along, I promised myself that if I continued to do music, it would be in a way that would allow me to be a full-time dad also.
Very cool.
Yeah, and a lot of bands are doing that now, and it's not, and even just the touring of it and being a home of family, but it seems almost like the venues are sort of booking with a proclivity towards Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and letting the rest of the week sleep a little bit. Is it hard, though, to keep, because you've got some really serious people in your band, is it hard to keep them available and ready to do a gig? Because, they got to eat, too, so when there's downtime in the Lou Gramm band, I'm sure they're out there doing other things. Does that make it tricky to take a band on the road?
Not necessarily. There's a few guys in the group that have their own groups. So when we're home in Rochester, they play locally.
Right.
But they have their priorities in order, which is all I ask. Mm-hmm. And if we're booked for a show, that comes first.
And I'm glad you're in Rochester because so many people. I guess at some point you went out to Hollywood and you saw that life, and you had some health problems, and you came to sort of a different point in your life, and you rejected that. And I think now you're back there with your people and where you're from. Tell us about, I think you had a new CD in the last couple of years that was sort of a little bit of different direction, or?
Yeah, actually, Foreigner was based out of Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
So I moved from Rochester to just north of Manhattan in Westchester County. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't across the country, but it was still away from, my brothers and my parents and stuff, my family. So after living in Westchester for about 6 or 7 years, in 1988, I decided to move home. Oh. So sold the house.
Right.
And moved back to Rochester.
Do they love you there? I know they do, but
yeah, and it was also good for my boys because then they could hang around their grandma and grandpa and their uncles and their cousins. And
no doubt.
It was just it was important to be where I was when the band started. I had to be close to where the band was based out of, but at a certain point, I didn't need to be there anymore, and I wanted to move home.
Yeah.
Dude, so now that you had a CD, how many years ago did that come out? Just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, it was I think 2 years, about now.
Was it fair? I think it sort of earned the label Christian rock. Is that a fair assessment of the music that's on that CD? Or
it certainly is, yes.
And again, not to go back to the same people, one thing that we're really finding that's kind of interesting from this whole generation, we've had, I don't know how many, of course, we started off with Merrill Osmond, and they've always brought their faith into their music. And
Absolutely.
then we've had a lot of people that have sort of come to their own faith later in life. Rick Springfield, certainly. Mark Farner, who did Christian music for a while. Several of the people we've talked to have sort of, and it's funny, we're all sort of, the world feels a little shaky right now. I mean, we're seeing stuff in the news that's really scary about our economy and our country and globally. Yep. And there feels like there's a return to faith, no matter what that faith is, whether it's a little more traditional or a little more esoteric. And do you think is it just because we're all getting to be a certain age and we're all searching, or is it because the times we live in, or? I
believe it's the times we live in, and you know, it's not that it's just a fashionable thing to have your faith, but it's to me it's a necessity that I depend on. I don't think in these times that people can really get by without faith, you know.
And it is. So, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, is there? And unfortunately we're running out of time, but I do want to ask. And I hate the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because so many bands I love aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I mean, have you heard? Are there any murmurings? Is there any? What's the hold up with Foreigner?
To tell you the truth, I heard just the little spatterings and smatterings here and there that when our era of rock, the groups. Some of the groups that came out along with us were inducted. I heard that our management and Mick went to see the people at the hall and asked them if everything was okay, and was there some sort of negativity towards us, and that they were disappointed that we hadn't been inducted, and
as are we. Yeah.
Apparently, the conversation started to get a little heated, and
alrighty then.
And the powers that be in the Rock Hall of Fame said that would be a cold day in hell when Foreigner was in the Hall of Fame.
So
I think that little visit preempted
bad
blood.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, because here's the thing. Patti Smith is in the Hall of Fame. What's she famous for? Hairy armpits. I mean, come on. I mean, because there's so many bands that we love. I mean, we've had Eric Bloom of Blue Oyster Cult. We've had the Doobies. The list is long. And none of them are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's like, how can that be? How can some of these people they were Rolling Stones critics' favorites, obviously. Is like Lester Bangs picking everybody for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or is
who are these people?
Oh, I'm sure he didn't pick us. That's for sure.
No.
I don't know if you ever read any of his reviews of our albums, but he was the butcher and we were the meat.
They weren't as bad as Spinal Taps. They didn't call it Shark Sandwich, some other kind of sandwich. But anyway, Lou, thank you so much. We are huge fans here, and we're fans of the trajectory your career has followed, as well as your life, too. And I got total respect for everything that you're doing. And
absolutely.
Just keep on doing what you're doing. We love the fact that you're out there and you've returned to your roots and you're still doing great music in the year 2011.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show, too.
All right, thanks, dude.
Okay, man.
Thanks,
all right,
Lou.
love to your wife, too, for us, and your kids as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Bye now.
Bye.
That was Lou Gramm. Kids, can you dig it?
Take a break.
I think you can. We're going to do some doobies here, and then we're going to come right back with the most righteous 70s music and all kinds of other fun stuff here on the original 70s soundtrack.
Hi.